Thank you. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Baruch Hashem. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Let me get the upload the.
Beautiful day.
It is, Nachon.
Wow.
Wait, where's the? No, that's not what I
I should do all the
want.
classes outside when it's that nice.
When I was a kid, it was called the Shi'ur Shemesh, a sun class.
Baruch Hashem.
But usually what happened this sun class, it was like this. Okay, בסדר גמור. פירות, winter program. Here we go. And this is what I want to share. Open. I just hope I'm in the right group.
Julia, do you know?
Well, I'll see in a moment. I'll see if Yocheved is trying to join, maybe. Let me take a look. Upload this. Upload that. Share. Let's see. Shalom. Na'im מאוד, I'm Tsipi.
Sharon?
Naimod. Naimod means very pleased to meet you.
Ne'amod. Ne'amod or just Ne'amod?
Naim
Na'im.
me'od. Me'od means very. Naim means
me'od.
pleasant.
Okay, yes, I've heard that before.
Okay, very pleasant. That's what it. Let me just see if. I don't see anybody trying to go in. So the people also aren't coming in because it's not.
I'm not sure if you want. I can.
I think if somebody complains, I'll know I'm in the wrong place.
I have my phone, so I'll
Okay, בסדר גמור.
you try to go in?
Okay, let me just take one more second. Just 1 second to see if we got the right address in the library that I'm reading.
Yeah, no, it's working.
It's working.
Yeah, excellent, very good.
And we'll see, it's officially, like I'm so grateful you're here, but maybe people, even though I,
No, but
Yeah,
there's some people that
know what's
sometimes
happening.
I saw that sometimes it like there's a problem. That's why I'm just,
Mhm.
okay, just one second. I just want to see if you have a specific book.
Do you want it? Can I help you find it?
No, because it's very, very specific. I'm looking for an old edition. In other words, of a Chumash. There has to be. I'm not very hopeful that I'll find what I'm looking for, but I figure I should give it a chance. It is.
There's other chumash outside.
Let me take a look 1 second.
okay, go ahead. What size shoe are you, Sharon?
Big.
I am also.
בסדר.
10.5.
טוב, הכל
I'm at
טוב.
10.
Are you?
That'd be
What
nice.
is this?
What shoe are you?
39.
Because she brought a size 8. What shoe are you in the other number, the European number?
No, it's like a what's it like a 6, 7
Oh,
in
No,
America,
but
an
the
American
other way,
number.
the 30, whatever.
It's a 38.
So she brought really nice shoes.
They look a little bit old, but they're very good. I mean, they cost like they're supposed to be very good.
Well, there, so you could look at them.
You can take a look afterwards.
I have them next to mine.
בסדר. Okay, so let's start. בסדר? Okay. So I feel a little bit like we got a bonus class today.
Yay.
Because I didn't really want to continue with the book of Shoftim because most of the students are already on holiday and then they would miss the class for next semester. But I always have like this list of things that we study in class and we say we don't have time. If we have time, we'll get to it, right? So this is on the list of if we have time, we'll get to it. And I was like, wow, we suddenly have time. So let's get to it. Okay. So we're going to talk about something that I don't think one usually just like encounters, but it's something which, it's a topic which is very important. And it's also something that is in the back of our minds often. What I want to talk about today is about when you have a Tanach, Torah most importantly, or even Nevi'im, Uktuvim, prophets, and you look at the pasuk and you say, it says here, LeDavid Mizmor, LeMetzach. Well, what year are we now? 2026. You don't need a Tanakh, it's okay. It's 2026. So if this was written 3,000 years ago, right? And printing was only invented like 500 years ago, okay? So every time someone wanted to read it, they had to copy it, right? So if I now wrote a note and I passed it to you and you copied it and passed the copy on and then you wrote it and you passed the copy on, by the time I got it back, chances are at least the period would move. The misavav, misayut, something is going to change. And you stop, or somebody might stop and say, how do I know that this is the same book, right? That let's say 500 years ago that the Abarbanel read, or that 900 years ago Rashi read, or that 1,500 years ago Rabbah and Morah in Babylonia read, or 2,000 years ago Hillel and Shammai read, or 2,500 years ago, right, where Beit Rishon, the first temple, that Yirmiyahu read. How do I know that? How do I know that it's not like left, right, and center? Who knows, right? And this is what we're going to discuss today, which I think is an important question. So we're not going to discuss everything because we only have an hour. But we're going to discuss a few central things, central ideas, okay? And we'll see what else we've got time for. And there's another subject in my mind that I would like to teach. Okay, we'll see if there's time to do that. Okay, so I want you to open your WhatsApp, okay? Are you in the group of the WhatsApp?
Yes.
Yofi. So I sent...
Okay, I could sit next to her.
Okay, so this morning what I did is I sent a PowerPoint. It's a PDF so that everybody will be able to open it. And what I want to do is just do like a quick overview about Chumash, about the I'm using a word that's not so nice, like the text of the Torah. As it sounds a little disrespectful, but I don't know what other word to use to say the words of the Torah, so I'll just use the word text, but please don't take it disrespectfully. It's a lot of things, actually. When you talk about a text, right, what do you talk about? You talk about the letters, right? What letters are there, right? I went the other day to open up a bank account, and they misspelled my name, right? They added a letter, okay? So a letter makes a difference. All of a sudden, you're somebody else on the piece of paper, right? But what else is in a text? Is the letters. What else?
The meaning,
The structure.
So the meaning will already be the meaning I give to it. However, we'll see in a moment that in Hebrew, it's a little more complicated. So we'll keep that in mind in a moment. What else did you say?
The structure.
What do you mean by structure?
The way it's written. Sometimes it can be like we saw. Sometimes there's like this like consolidated part. Sometimes it's like a poem, so it's like different.
We saw different structures, different ways of writing text in the Torah, right? We talk about the melody. So why is there a melody?
There's tamim.
But why do we have tamim?
To understand the emotions also.
So we understand there's something going on here. We're going to talk about the tamim. It's a very important part of the preservation of the text. Okay, we'll speak about that in a minute. Okay, what else did you want to say? What else do we need to preserve, though? What are we worried about? We spoke about letters getting lost, added.
I wanted to say first that sometimes also, like she said, there's a smaller, sometimes larger letter. And also with songs,
Everything has a song.
And I feel like the beauty of the Torah is it's the only reality and it never changes. But you learn deeper every year.
So what you're saying is very true, and it connects to what you say. Is how do we approach the Torah when we learn? Okay, but we're looking now at that moment before how we approach it. In other words, when I'm looking at you know what it's like that you writing a very important letter to somebody. Right? Did you ever have the situation you write a very important letter and you make a first copy and then you cross out and you add and then you put it on and you edit it and you this and then you have like in your box in your file you've got letter to Sarah 1, letter to Sarah 2, it's just 2 different versions, and you say, okay, I like this, and you send the letter and you sent the wrong version, right? Chas v'chalila, it shouldn't happen to you, right? But how do I know that I'm holding the right version and not like that's what we're looking at now? And how do I know when I'm about to read into this letter, which is what the Torah is, it's a letter from God, right? When I'm about to read, how do I know that I have the letter that was sent and that it didn't get like messed up until I got it? So we're looking at the words, at the letters, we're looking at the words. We also have to look at the sentences. Yes, who said that somebody wrote me an email the other day. They said, they asked me, did he send you the, he wrote, Hamodet Shalach, Rina sent something. I'm trying to translate from Hebrew into English. And I looked at it and was saying, are you asking me a question or are you giving me a statement? In other words, are you asking me if they sent it to me or are you telling me that it was sent to me, right? How do I know? Right? It's a completely different, right? But there were no punctuation marks. So that's why I was stuck, not understanding. And sometimes people write an SMS and they don't put in punctuation marks and you're not sure where the period is, right? Hurry up, I'm going. And that's hurry up, I'm going. No, you've lost, right? Or is it hurry up, right? You don't know how to read it. So that also makes a very big difference. We want to make sure that nobody added something in the middle because they thought it wasn't clear and they wanted to make it clear to us. Or somebody took some north because they said, oh, this doesn't look very reasonable. I took it off. Right? There are a lot of things that we are concerned about when we look at a text. So let's look for a moment at, we're going to start from the beginning. So if you're already familiar with some of these things, I apologize in advance, but it will make sure that we're all on the same ground as we go. Okay, so take a look on the first page. That's actually the second page. Okay. What you have here is a picture of Sifrei Torah. If you move your phone to the side, the pictures will be slightly bigger. Okay, so we have here pictures of Sifrei Torah. We'll see that we have today we have got 2 main forms in which a Sefer Torah will appear. When I'm talking about a form, I'm talking about the casing, right? So we have on the right-hand side is a Sfaradi Sefer Torah. A Sfaradi Sefer Torah, the case is mamash part of the scroll almost, right? You have like you open it up and you've opened up the Sefer Torah, you close it and you've closed the Sefer Torah. On the left-hand side, you've got an Ashkenazi Sefer Torah. So if you're Ashkenazi, that is what you're familiar with. Where it's called the jacket. You take the jacket off the Sefer Torah and you have the Sefer Torah in your hand. You can't do that to a Sefer Torah Sfaradi because it's in its jacket. A Sefer Torah comes in its jacket. If you want to take it out, you got to take it to the shop where they'll dismantle the jacket, right? So it's not like with an Ashkenazi one that let's change all the jackets for Chag. We'll put a nice white jacket and afterwards move back to the dark blue or the green or whatever. Okay? Now these sticks that you see he's holding up the Sefer Torah, those are called Atzei Chaim, trees of life. It's a nice name, right? The trees of life are those wooden sticks that hold, that you roll the scroll of the Torah on. And you can see because the Sefer Torah is so precious to us that we adorn it. We adorn it. And you can see on the Sfaradi one, you can see that the silver inlay and on top it's called rimonim, pomegranates. They don't exactly look like pomegranates, but it's like the idea of a pomegranate, something a beautiful decoration, or sometimes you have a crown, a silver crown.
High priest.
Yes, a little bit. Yes, but it's
sorry.
no. I'm saying it's the same idea. It's a sign of like beautifying a mitzvah. Yeah, there's a whole concept in Judaism that when we do something which is good, which is important, like a mitzvah or good deed, always to do it in the most beautiful way, right? It's a sign of respect. It's a sign of caring. It's a sign of endearment, right? So the Sefer Torah, right, is beautiful because it's something that we feel very close to, and it reflects itself, right? Like the same, we've got a grandchild or a child that we really like, so we buy them these cute little pink ribbons and nice dresses and all these things, right? Okay. Okay, the next picture, this is an Ashkenazi shul. How do I know it's an Ashkenazi shul? Okay, that's a point. We're going to see it in a moment. Okay, but if you look, there's a picture of a shul. It's an Ashkenazi shul. The same way we have two different casings of Sifrei Torah. Shuls of Sfaradim and Ashkenazim also don't look exactly the same. Ashkenazim all daven towards the direction of Yerushalayim. They all sit in that direction. The Aron HaKodesh is in the direction of Yerushalayim, and everybody sits facing the same direction. In some shuls, maybe you'll have the rabbi and all the dignitaries sitting facing the people, but most places they're all just sitting and facing in the same direction. Sfaradim sit differently. You've been to Sfaradi shul, nachon? How do Sfaradim sit? Yes, around. So Sfaradim, so the Aron Kodesh, they sit around. They sit around. It's like it's a much more facing each other. Of course, everybody, Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, Teimanim, Marokkaim, everybody davens towards Yerushalayim. So everyone's going to move and readjust themselves so they're in the direction of Yerushalayim. But when they sit, they face each other. It's a very different dynamics, and the dynamics of the tefillah are also a little bit different. And that
I didn't know that was specifically Sfaradi, but that's true. I never saw, even though I see how it is here, I was always used to have that the women, they weren't behind, they were above, and they were doing that same circle because
so that really depends on the shul, how the shul is built. If the women are up on the side and down, so that's less. Yes, sometimes you have on the side, but in Ashkenazi shul there is a chazan who leads the prayers, and he says the beginning and the end out loud, and everybody follows. His job is to make sure that everybody is keeping more or less the same pace. Not all the time, he's got other jobs, but that's a lot. But in a Sfaradi shul, everybody in the community takes turns reading out a psalm. So you're not a chazan, right? Everybody gets their chance. If you're 13, if you're 17, or if you're 70, right? Each one, they read a psalm, and the next person reads a psalm, and the next one reads a psalm. It's a very different, it sort of mirrors this like a community type of thing. Okay, now underneath here you see something just like a little pointy finger. Okay, it looks like it's from Teiman. It's a Teimani artwork, this style over here, but it doesn't have to be. Because the Torah is so holy, we don't touch it with our own hands. We don't touch it by hand. So when the person reads from the Torah, he follows with the pointer. Now, it's very important for him to follow with the pointer because originally, in theory, everybody was supposed to have learned how to read from the Torah. And everybody's expected to know how to read from the Torah. Right? So if you go, let's say the Teimanim, when kids are 3, they start going to the Morah, that's the teacher, and they know how to read from the Torah. It's unbelievable. They read the Torah and to translate everything.
I find there were a lot of Persian, a lot of Sfardim.
Yechol depends on communities. I can say about the Teimanim as a community that's a very, very strong. Ashkenazim, when you get to Bar Mitzvah, you learn your Parsha, maybe, right? And that's where it's at. So what happens is, let me just finish the sentence. What happens is that you have a professional Torah reader, a person who knows how to read and reads comfortably, and it's easy for him to prepare. But every time you invite somebody else to the honor of reading from the Torah. But you invite someone, they don't know how to read. So what they do is they stand, you have the Sefer Torah, and you have the reader, the Baal Koreh, the person who is the actual reader, and next to him you have the person who is given the honor of being la'alot Torah, to be raised up, to come and stand at the Torah, and he needs, because he was given that honor, he follows the reading, but the person with the voice is the Baal Koreh. So it's like a partnership, like a changing partnership. Each time the Baal Koreh gets another partner, right, that he's...
Like Aaron and Moses.
Exactly, mamash like that, right? You've got the person who's the voice and the person who is like, he was brought up to the Torah. That was a very nice example. And he follows with a finger, so it's very important. So the person who's next to him, it's easy for him to follow with him because that's what he needs to do, he needs to follow. And then when he comes up to the Torah, the Baal Koreh points to him where they are, where they're reading now. And then he takes his tzitzit and he kisses like that place where they're starting, and then they start to read after the brachot, etc. Okay. Did you want to say something?
Just something beautiful I saw the other day is the first time that a child was being shown the Torah or the letters, that in that they took honey.
Yes,
And
yes,
put on
yes.
each letter.
Yes, it's a
And
very
then they
nice
would
thing.
take,
When this is Faradi, I think maybe it was a Hasidic tradition, that when a child is 3, and you take them for the first time to start learning, it's okay, thanks, to start learning Torah, that you want to experience them to experience the sweetness of the Torah.
Yes.
That it's not a task, that it's not a punishment, that it's something that's going to illuminate their life and make their life like sweeter.
Wow.
I thought, wow, exactly.
It's very nice. Yeah, there's a lot around that, but I'm not going in that direction because we have to go somewhere else.
Yes. I'm thinking letters. And then
Yes.
we went that way. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes. Please.
Okay, what I want you to do now is go down one more page. Okay, and we're getting closer now to our topic. What you have here is 2 photocopies of a Sefer Torah. Okay, and usually I bring actual pieces, but I didn't bring them because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this part. I wanted to get to the continuation. But I want you to look at these Sefer Torah. Okay, what do you see? And also, what do you not see? This is literally what a Sefer Torah looks like. So what do you see? And also, what do you not see that you would expect perhaps to see?
No nekudot.
There's no nekudot. In other words, there's no commas, there's no periods, there's no
Vowels.
no.
Is that
So that's there's nikud.
I'm using the wrong
Here.
word.
There's nikud and there's nekudot.
Oh,
Okay, nikud is the vowels that we put underneath. What we call a vowel, but it's not a vowel. It's the sounds. How is it? A, I, A, O, E, right? Which sound to add to the letter? And nikud and nekudot is a period, a question mark, a comma. Take a look. There's no what we call in English punctuation. There's no punctuation. In other words, if I am now starting to read, okay, where do I stop? Where's the end of the sentence? There's no punctuation at all. And it makes such a difference where you end the sentence, where you start another sentence. You have 2 different stories. You change the punctuation, you end up with 2 different things, or 3 or 4 or 5. And there is no punctuation, right? And that's one problem. The other problem we have is that there's no nikud, that there's no vowels. When it says here, Yud Tzadik Aleph, how is that supposed to be read? How could you read it? Yud Tzadik Aleph, these 3 letters. Okay, who wants to give me suggestions? I took one of the first words from here. Sorry, wait, I can do this. I can find this. Here we go. Okay, these 3 letters, right? Yud Tzadik Aleph. Okay. How am I supposed to read this? What does it say here? You can give suggestions. I'm open to suggestion.
Yitza.
Yitza. I'm not sure what yitza means, but okay. Okay. What else could it maybe be?
Yotzei.
Yotze, right? If I have a cholam, yotze, and that means going out, present continuous.
Like Yetziat Mitzrayim.
N-
Or is that a
it-
different word?
no, it is the same shorish, but I'm looking at the tense, right?
Mm.
Yotze means now going out, right? It could also be yatsa, which is past tense. It came out, right? So I'm not. I don't know how I'm supposed to read it. I've got no clues here, right? And I could change the whole meaning if I change the tense. This happened. This is going to happen. This is happening now. It's a different story.
What's the
Yitze. Yitze. So that could also it's written the same way. Now over here, I'm okay still because I've got the right verb, and I'll probably work out the tense as I go along. But if you take a word like this, like Che Lamed He, what does it say here?
Chole. Like
It could be chole, like sick,
mm-hmm.
right? And then it would be chole, right? What else could it be?
Excuse me.
We all know this.
Chala.
Chala. This is also chala, right? This is a noun, right? Chole is a verb,
Yeah.
right? And chala is a noun, right? Maybe chole is an adjective. I don't know. Okay. It could also be chala. Chala means like to give birth. We don't use it today. Chala is like to like being up, like that moment before, like when you're getting ready to give birth, kind of a thing. Chala, transitioning kind of a thing. Yeah. Okay. So we have and also chala means also happened. Chala. Okay. Etmol chala. Etmol, like from the word להתחיל, right? Etmol התחילה החופשה. Yesterday the holiday started, right? So I've got the same 3 letters, and I'm not even on the same verb anymore, right? Because I've got either being sick, either something that we eat, either giving birth, or something that happened.
Wow.
Right? And as I go down, this is the way Hebrew is. Like I could have not just one word and then I'd like sort of work it out. I could have every other word meaning lots of different things. And then what do I do? How am I supposed to know what it actually says here? And I've got no clues except for trying to work it together, and I don't even have the sentences. So that is very, very difficult. How do I know what it means? Right? It's if the words are easy, right? So sometimes it's easy to work out what it means. But you could have words that are like difficult words and a sentence structure which is a difficult sentence structure, and we'll be stuck. Okay? So that is very important to note that when we're talking about preserving what the text looks like, we're starting off with a text that's unclear to us, like as somebody who's copying, right? Because if I give you like if the note that I was passing around theoretically at the beginning of the class said we eat apples and honey on Rosh Hashanah, the chances are they would come back more or less intact around after one, just 3 or 4 of us, right? It would come back intact at the end of the cycle. But if I wrote instead cranberries, laundry, red pomegranates, so there's a good chance that by the time we got to the end, something would have changed over there, because we're all trying to make sense of the thing that we're copying. And this is a little bit more like the laundry pomegranates, right? Than the apples and honey in Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so we have here, okay, that's one thing I want you to notice. There are things that we do have, though. We have the letters, and the letters have these, they're called tagim, a tag, these little things, those lines, like beautiful crowns, they're called tagim, and only specific letters get tagim. We're not going to go there because we don't have time. And we have also what you notice, we have the structure, right? So what do we have? 2 different structures here. Nachon? So what did you see? The other one structure is a regular text, and what's on the other side? It's a song. It's a structure of a song. What song is it? Do you recognize? Take a look at the beginning. Az Yashir, that's Shirat Hayam and Shemot. We said it not so long ago, 2-3 weeks ago. We said it at Shul, right? So we have in the Torah, we do have different like structures of text that denote different things that are happening. This is a structure for a song. It's a structure for a positive song. We've got structures for negative songs, right? We're not going there. We spoke about that a few weeks ago, and we have just the regular text that we usually have. Okay,
That's the regular.
that's the regular. The block.
The block.
The block is the regular.
I
Okay.
love this. I have thought of these things before about the musical connection and everything. People look at you and think you're crazy. No, it's because it's the way Hashem is.
So
And
let's take a
therefore
look now. Turn over to the next page. Okay. So this is this a song? Is this a regular text?
Regular text.
It's a regular text. What you're looking at is another type of a marking that's in the Torah, right? It's when we start a new paragraph. The Torah has paragraphs. They're not marked the same way that we mark paragraphs, right? By us, we always mark a paragraph. You start a new line, you can start with an indented line, right? You have a space between paragraphs, all different rules, right? Ways of doing it. In the Torah, we've got two types of paragraphs, right? So we have a paragraph. Anybody recognize this section, what it is? Take a look.
If you look on the very top, Shema.
This is the Shema. This is what the Shema looks like in Chumash Dvarim. Like if we had a Sefer Torah and we unrolled it, this is Shema that we say twice a day at least. Shema Yisrael, right? And then we've got the second section, Vayayim Shamoah. Okay, so we've got two types of paragraphs. We've got a parasha ptucha and a parasha stuma. And I'll show you here. I've got if you go down one more, okay, I don't have to draw it on the board now. Okay. A parasha ptucha is when you finish the previous paragraph in the middle of the line, and then you only start the next paragraph on the next line, which is similar to what we're used to. A parasha stuma, patuach means open, which is what it is. The last line is left open. A parasha stuma satum means blocked, closed off. Here you have a type of a paragraph where you finish the previous paragraph, you leave a space, and you start the next paragraph on the same line. So if you look back up a minute, right? What do you have here? You've got one, two, you can see three, you can see four different paragraphs, right? All the paragraphs you see in the Shema, are they parashot ptuchot or stumot? Patuach means that it's open at the end of the line, and satum means that the new paragraph starts on the same line that the old paragraph ended. Pei patuach, samech satum. Patuach open, that the rest of the line is open, and satum meaning that the line is closed on both sides, right? With the old paragraph ending and the new paragraph starting.
No, because I think it's the second one, because it's not open. It's in between two.
Do you see? Do you
Right.
see that the line is not open? Nachon?
Okay.
Okay, the line
Like
isn't
this.
open.
Because what they're saying here is there would be nothing after it.
Right?
Here it's
Do I
in
have an
between
example here of a parasha
Okay.
ptucha? I should have chosen one that is also parasha ptucha, but I
I'm
didn't.
thinking of the meaning of that first paragraph.
Yeah, no, she's just talking
We're going to
about
talk about the meaning in one
structure.
second. We're
Okay,
going to talk
listen,
about the
I
meaning in
was
one
sorry.
second because you're right to think in that direction. But first, I just want you to identify. Okay, so if we look, we can see that these are called parashat stumot. A parasha stuma. Why is it called a parasha stuma? Because it begins, the old paragraph ends, and the new paragraph begins on the same line. It's satum. The line is blocked from both ends. And a parasha ptucha means that the line is open, right? And the new paragraph is going to start on a new line. In a chumash, you've got I'm trying to remember if it says parasha ptucha or if it says a pei or a samech. I think that they just have the actual
Oh, interesting.
parashot
'Cause
here.
I see the pay and I don't know what that means.
Okay, so here, if you look, here's this, if you look here. You don't have to understand the words. Is this ptucha or stuma? This is ptucha, because the line is open. Here's the end of the paragraph, and the new paragraph didn't start yet. Right? Or if we have over here, it's also shma. That's so funny.
Wow.
What's very interesting. Okay, here, we have here, the paragraph ended over here, this paragraph ended here, and the next paragraph began here. So is this a parasha? Is this ptucha or stuma? Wait a minute. Is this patuach, open, or closed?
I would say closed.
So you look at the line
There's
is
nothing
open.
else.
There's
It is
nothing else here. The line
I
stays
see.
open.
Okay.
So it's a parasha ptucha. And here's
I
the
think
end
I
of the
see.
paragraph, and here's the beginning of the paragraph. Is this ptucha or stuma? What happened to
I don't
this
know.
line? The line is closed. The
There's a
space
space in
between
between.
the space between the paragraphs is very small, and on the same line it's satum. If the space between the paragraph is big and there's a whole empty, like the line stays empty, then it's patuach. Okay. Now satum, when you have so in a chumash here, they were very generous with space, right? Look, that's one of the good things of the price of printing today. The price of printing is so much lower than what it used to be. Paper's not as expensive. The process is not so expensive. The binding is not so expensive. It's much easier to print a book. But printing a book used to be very, very expensive. And you're not going to waste all of these spaces, empty spaces. It adds up to lots of paper. So what they used to do is instead of leaving the space, if there's a parasha ptucha, they would just write the letter pei. And if there's a parasha stuma, they just write the letter samech.
Wow.
So when you look at a chumash, and I was looking for an old chumash. That's what I was trying to do. Wait, let me take one more look, and in here maybe I'll find, just because I want you to see it, because you will see it. You will definitely see it on a chumash and show. Okay, here we go. This is an old, yeah.
Try. Well, how much?
I'm going to
I mean,
find. I have to find it now. Where is it, parasha?
You're looking for the pay or something?
Oh yeah, I'm looking for Peir Samech.
Interesting.
This one's not recording them, which is very unusual. So this one isn't going to help us. We're just showing us the end of the parasha. I'm marking with 3 samechim. Here we go.
Here. I just
Okay, so what do you have? Okay,
okay.
so you see the pay here? Here's a pay. Okay, that means that here it's a parasha. This is the end of the line, and this is starting a new paragraph, and it should be a whole empty line, and then we're starting another line. Okay? So
That's
here,
my
or
problem.
you have, here's a samech. Come here to use a samech.
Yeah.
English, but we're reading it this way
Right.
instead of
Right.
this
And
way.
you know
Right.
something? It's very hard. It took me a while to realize that I think all the time from right to left, and you all think from left to right. So when I write a chart, I start my chart in this direction,
Wow.
and everybody's looking at it backwards. And I don't understand. It took me a while to catch it. Everyone's looking at it backwards
Wow.
because our minds are geared differently. So I speak 2 languages, so I can flip, right? But when you're only used to looking at it from one direction, it's very hard. So here's a samech, okay? Here's a samech. This means this is the end of a paragraph. This is the beginning of a paragraph, but it's a closed paragraph, right? It's stuma. This samech, samech for satum, right? Samech for satum, pei for patuach, right?
There's the pay.
This is the page.
Mm-hmm.
This little, the two looks like a.
No, this letter.
Oh, excuse me.
It's a letter.
I see.
It's just the letter. They're showing us the letter. The letter is marking for us where the spaces are. So what's the difference between Parashat Ptucha and Parashat Stumah? So why do we have two different types of paragraphs, right? Why does it just make a life simpler? In English, there's only one type of paragraph. There's a paragraph and a new paragraph.
You're on an email. I'm sorry, that's all. There was my sense of humor. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So the answer is because when you have a parasha stuma, like that small space, it means that there is a stronger connection between the two paragraphs. And if it's a parasha ptucha, it means that it's a new matter, that it's a bigger difference, right? So like I suppose you could have like in a book, you've got paragraphs and you've got chapters.
Yes.
So it's a little bit more like a chapter, which brings us on to a very important topic. Are there chapters in the Torah? So let's go back up to that page with the song and page 4. Go back up, scroll up to page 4.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, now open up in your Tanach, okay? Shirat Hayam. Okay, Shirat Hayam is Perek Vav. Shmot 15. Okay, Exodus 15. Okay, so let's just see where exactly what it says there when you start Shirat Hayam.
So this is Exodus, but it's Shmot is the Parsha is Shmot.
No, the book of Exodus and
Yeah.
chapter 15.
This one.
Oh yeah.
Here, I'm telling the teacher.
You are? No. For me, like, I either think in Hebrew or in English. When it gets to both, I get confused.
It's very confusing which
Yeah.
way to move forward
Because-
means you're going backwards in English.
But in Shmot, what is the...
Chapter 15, it's on the top of the page, you see the chapters.
Okay. Okay, so here's one. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Look at the top of the
Yeah,
page, you need
so
to find the
here's
15. And you
okay.
and you can actually identify, whoa, 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 whoa.
It's
Here,
the
you see
Shala,
you can
right?
see the song. You see the
Ah.
song, right? So
Oh,
find the
because
beginning.
it's-
Find the beginning of the song.
Where's
Okay.
the beginning of the song?
Okay, so you have
It'll
to.
be here.
But it might be the page before.
In that case, it would be down here.
No.
Okay.
Like, do you see, like she was saying, this is just a regular text. Song is like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yes.
the
So-
song begins here. Because
Okay.
it's different than this.
But
I
also
see.
you can see the first words are Az Yashir Moshe. That's the way it's sung. The song starts Az Yashir Moshe v'nei Yisrael et Hashir hazot l'Hashem. So if you look at your Tanakh, right? What does it say at the beginning of, just before Az Yashir? There's like a letter. It says,
What's this letter right here?
it has a tetvav, right? It says
Oh, yeah.
chapter 15,
Oh,
right? The
I
tetvav.
see.
There's a number of the chapter,
Yeah.
and then there's a little 1 or something, a little aleph.
Aleph.
Pasuk Aleph, right? Chapter 15, verse 1, right? And then you finish the verse, and you've got verse 2. Now I want you to look at the Sefer Torah, right? On your WhatsApp, in the PowerPoint, page 4. We have exactly the same text, but as it looks in every single Sefer Torah that you're going to look at, okay? This is what it looks like in a Sefer Torah. Not my or her. In any Sefer Torah, this is what it's going to look like, okay?
It's gonna help.
Can you find the number of the chapter?
No.
The other way.
It only has this in a book. In the Sefer Torah, it doesn't.
There's no number of a chapter. There's no chapters. There's no verse. So if I want to tell you, like now, I said, okay, open up chapter 15, find Shirat Hayam. If I didn't have the chapters, how am I going to tell you to find it? Right? So Rashi will say, in Parashat Shmot, the third Aliyah, will say something like that, right? And then you're like, he hopes that you know it all by heart. That is his assumption, right? But you got to look. It's very hard to see because there's no verses and there's no chapters. The division, the chapters and verses is not a Jewish division. It is not a Jewish division. If you have, I've got here a picture of Stephen Langton. Take a look. That is 7. You see, okay,
Roman
Stephen Langton.
Catholic Church.
He was an English cardinal, the Archbishop of Canterbury. And he decided that this was no good, that you can't find your way around the Tanach, even though the Jews had done it perfectly well until he came along. He had, I'm afraid to say, all ulterior motives. because when you argue with the Jews, you want to be able to pinpoint the verse that you're arguing with them about. So he, at this point in time, the first concordance was written. A concordance is a list of the words, but a concordance is useless unless you can refer to a verse and a chapter, and a verse. So he sat and he divided all the Tanakh into chapters, and then once he divided them into chapters, divided them into verses.
Whoa.
Okay. This is a topic for whole class. We don't have time for. I just want you to be aware of this.
All the chapters that we have in our modern Chumash or Tanakh, it's from him.
Yes.
Wow.
So why
We are learning
why do we
using.
care? Why do we care then? Why do we give any importance to the way it's
I'm going to answer in 1 second. I have to say one more sentence before. Okay? Now, he was Christian. When you have a story, the way you decide how to present the story, where to start a new paragraph, where to end a new paragraph, right, is how you shape the story in the person's mind. Okay? And he was Christian, and he shaped the chapters to reflect Christian dogma. Sometimes it's intentional, and you can see blatantly that he breaks prophecies in half in order to make it seem like we're talking about
A different.
something else.
Mhm.
Sometimes he breaks prophecies in half or differently, or begins a prophecy in the wrong place to make it sound bad about the Jews. Sometimes he breaks chapters to fit with Christian dogma that have to do with different tenets of faith, right? I would give you examples for all of these things, but I'm just worried that we won't have time to get to the Mesorah. Okay? So it is problematic. Don't think that it's not problematic. And sometimes he just makes a mistake. Sometimes you just read it and you say, what was he thinking when he made the division over here? That just makes no sense. Sometimes you know why he did it, right? And it's very irritating because you know that he's doing it to make the Jews look bad. Okay, maybe if this time at the end remind me, I'll show you an example, which is very, very irritating. But besides, I'm just an example.
But is it to help all of us with all our different languages?
But okay, and for years, okay, so he is, if you look at the date, so he died in 1228.
Okay.
So the Christians are already using this, right? It does happen to be much more convenient to find a way around a book of this thickness when you can refer to a chapter and a verse. It just is easier. The Jews did not use that division, and we continued referring to things by parasha, aliyah, etc. Slightly less convenient, but that was what we did. In the 15th century, the printing press came.
Mm-hmm.
And then when in Venice they printed the first Mikrot Gdolot, which was the text of the Tanach with commentaries on the side. They printed it using Stephen Langton's division, and that was it. You can't fight that because it takes a copyist to copy a Tanakh 4 or 5 months, a scribe to copy one Tanakh, to make one copy. There's no copy paper. We all remember what copy paper is, right? But there's no copy paper. Every page has to be written, right? And it takes 1 day to make 300 copies if you're using a printing press. It's a no-win situation, right? And it just took over. Because it's also much easier. It's much more convenient. It just goes everywhere. Everyone can afford to buy. Not everyone. It's much easier to afford, like a manuscript, a handwritten manuscript, is so much more expensive than a printed book copy, right? So many more people can get the printed one, and somebody else decided what it's going to look like, right? It's interesting. Okay, we can talk about book printing, Jewish book printing. It's a very fascinating topic. We're not going to talk about that. But just I want you to be aware of it. You know, I do want to give you one example. No, I don't have time. Bli neder, okay? I'm putting it on my list. Okay, but you see, I sometimes do get to the list. Okay. We're not talking about the division of the books in the Jewish Bible and the Christian Bible. We're not talking about that because it's not the same division, divided by different principles. But if you go down to page 10, so you see what's called a Tikkun Sofrim. Okay, Tikkun Sofrim. If you look on the left-hand side, is what it's going to look like in the Sefer Torah. No, on the left-hand side, right? You see, there's no nikudot. There's no nikud, right? There's no chapter. There's no verse, right? Right? But on the right-hand side, right? This is what it looks like in a chumash, where there's nikud. We know exactly, is it bara or bro, right?
And the pay.
And there's a pay over there, right? And it says, and there's all the ta'amim that give us the tune. We'll talk about that in a moment. Right? It's everything you need to know. So when you learn to read from the Torah, you learn with the right-hand side. So you read the right-hand side, which is exactly parallel to the left-hand side, and then you have it in your mind. You know where the psukim begin and where they end, and what the punctuation is supposed to be, and what the nikud is supposed to be. And then you read it on the left-hand side, and you already have the structure and the details in your mind. How did they get to the right-hand side, right? Because if we say that the Sefer Torah is written this way and was always written this way, how do we know? How did we remember? 100 years ago, right? Weren't they arguing in Shul when the Baal Koreg came up and said, Chala, Chala, and they started arguing, like, is that what's happening? Like, how did they get there? Right? Now, the Torah, because it's the Word of God, it is incredibly important to be absolutely 100% accurate. Can't be tov be'erech, I think that's what it said. Or it's either this word or another word. No, it has to be exactly. If there's a yud, it has to have a yud. If there's a vav, there has to be a vav. Right? You can't like add letters, take off letters, put words that you think could be. And how do we know that we are able to maintain the text, the word, the sounds? I'm going back to the question we asked before. To this we owe, keeping of the accuracy of the text, we owe to a group of people called Masranim. Okay, Masran. Oh, wait a minute, I mamash don't have a word here. From the word masar. Masar is to hand over, to give over something. Limsor et hakadur, like in a basketball game. Limsor et hakadur to, or in a football game, or soccer, what you call it, right? So masranim are those who are Muslim. Okay, and this is called the Mesorah. We're talking about the Mesorah because it is Masrota, because it was handed down. What the Masranim did, they started working in the 5th century, 6th century. This is like we're talking about almost 2,000 years ago. There were groups of Masranim in Bavel, in Tzfat, in Tveria, in the north of the country. And what they did is they decided that in order to make sure that people remember exactly how to read and what it's supposed to sound like and where pasuk ends and where pasuk finishes and exactly to be completely accurate, they have to start recording. They have to record for 2 reasons. The one recording they need to do is so that the person who reads the Torah will know how to read it. So they know where pasuk begins, where pasuk ends. If it's a question, if it's an exclamation, they need to know the tune of what they read. Because we all talk with tunes. We talk with tunes when we have a question, and it's amazing, in different languages, the tunes are different, right? In Hebrew, in a question, it goes up, and in English, it goes down, right? In English, where did you go? No, where did you go? In Hebrew, it's lefo halacht, right? It goes up, right? So the tunes are different. In Spanish, I'm not sure it goes, I'm sure it goes, it's got its own tune, right? So, they did, some of what they did was so that people know how to read, and some of what they did was to make sure that the text is preserved completely accurately. So the first thing we're looking at on page 11 is what we call Tamei Mikra. They did two things. They preserved. One second, I'm going to skip that in a minute. Okay, that is page 19. Okay, we're looking at page 11 now. The tune. How to read this text. And that is includes in it if it's where the end of the pasuk is, where the end of a paragraph is, where there's a comma in the pasuk, if it's a question, if there are other things going on. It's a lot of it is an interpretation. The tune in which you say something is an interpretation. This is what we call the trop or the ta'amim. And what you're looking at here is an example of the top. But if you look in a chumash, all those funny squiggles below and underneath the line, right? That tell you the tune, right? That is their work. In other words, they took the tune that existed and they created the symbols to use to put the tune onto the words. In other words, how do I remember? Like we would use today musical notes, right? It's a type of a musical note because it tells us if it's we don't have time to listen to the recording, but you can put it. I'll send you afterwards to listen to recording of what it sounds like. But if you go to shul, you hear it, right? Short and long, or high or low. If it stops for a long time, if it starts for a short time, like a comma, etc., etc. So this is the first thing that we're talking about. Not the first thing they did necessarily, but this is one of the most important things they did. They committed the trop to symbols, and they put the symbols on the psukim, so everybody would know how to read it, right? So that's the first thing, which is very important. Now let's move on to page 19, skipping everything in the middle. Okay. And what we're looking at, okay, take a look on the right-hand side. Okay, so we've got all these squiggles around the words. Okay. We're looking at the nikud. Kamatz, patach, chirik, segol, right? How do we say it? Is it a? Is it i? Is it elchem? Is it olchem? It's vaidaber, vidaber. How do we pronounce it? We have the nikud. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, you'll be able to read it because you'll recognize the nikud. The nikud is under the word, right? The kamatz is under the thing, and the patach is under the thing, right? The cholam is on the top, but everything else is under. Take a look on the left-hand side. Do you recognize the symbols? Right? But notice that they're over the word. That's in Bavel. In Tveria, they used to mark the nikud under the letters, and in Bavel, they marked the nikud over the letters. Wow. Today, which tradition do we follow? The under the Tveria. We write today like Tverianim, right? We follow their system of, that was really the most powerful, in the end, powerful, most accurate, most impactful school of Masranim, people that do the Mesorah. If you go to Tveria, and you go down on that the promenade down to the beach, to the Kinneret, you will see on the floor all the nikud. That they embedded the nikud into to pay homage to the Masranim that lived in Tveria, because they did such an important thing that they gave us nikud. So now if I have nikud and I have my chala, each one of them, I can know by my nikud what word it is. Wow. If it's chole, chala, chila, right? Chila is we forgot one. Chila is to ask for something, right? So all these chet lamed have got 5 different possibilities, right? But if I know the nikud, I'm okay. But we can know the nikud because the Masranim created symbols to take the sounds and commit them to the letters. And it's an ingenious system, because even though Hebrew is not such an easy language, it's very easy to learn how to read Hebrew because it's very systematic. You've got a set amount of letters and a set amount of sounds. And there's hardly anything that you have and you don't say, or combinations that sound differently. There's a aleph and a e, it's e, right? A bet and a chirik, it's a b. A gimel and a chirik is going to be a gi, right? So it's a very, very clear system, and we have to bemet thank the Tveryanim for doing that. Okay.
That's what I found in the little bit of instruction, or a little bit of learning that I had of Hebrew, just a little I've had, and that's exactly what I learned was those little, those, yeah. Beautiful.
It's very, very important. Okay. But
not that I know it all still.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going at what else did the Masranim do. So those two things, the trap and the nikud, that's for us that are trying to read. So we'll know when does the sentence start, when does it end, and how to pronounce the words, which is very, very important. But that's not enough, because the Masranim are also worried about the integrity of the text, to know that nothing in the copying, over the generations, that letters didn't get lost, that words didn't get added in, right? What they did, if you move on to page 20, and this was what I was looking for and I couldn't find over here. What you're looking at page 20, okay, is a photocopy of Chumash Shmot, a Chumash. This is the kind of a Chumash that I learned from when I was in high school, It's a copy of a copy of a copy, right, before printing became so much easier, right? And I remember as a child saying, okay, I recognize the Chumash itself, the text, right? The big letters in the middle is the Chumash, right? The what it says in the Torah. And I know that all these things on the side is Rashi and Ibn Ezra, or the commentaries. And on the side, I have on my right-hand side also, there's the Aramaic translation. But in between the Aramaic translation and the Chumash, what are all these little squiggles? Do you see these squiggles? Do you see these little things? They're all letters. They're in the Ktav Rashi. Okay, there's lots of lameds, right? Lamed, 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 and then bet, and like all different things. And look, what are these things? This is an amazing project of Balei Mesorah. Okay, this is what they did. Is they recorded the whole text of the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim in absolute 100% accuracy. And how do they do this? They use the three types of comments that they use. Mesorah Ktana, right? Mesorah, the tradition. The Mesorah Ktana means small. Mesorah Ktana. Mesorah Gdola, big, and Mesorah Metzarefet. Okay. What is a Mesorah Ktana? So Mesorah Ktana is these little letters on the side. Okay? So for instance, it says here, take a look at Pasuk Lamed Gimel, right? We're in the text, okay? Over here on the page 20, it says, Pasuk Lamed Gimel, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Mi asher chatali, etc. Right? Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Wait, how do we know that it's not supposed to say Vayomer Hashem el Moshe lemor? Right? It so many times says lemor. How do I know that someone didn't leave it out or put it in extra? So they have on the side that it says, okay, there's a lamed, lita. Doesn't have. In other words, lita means that's the translation. The lamed is a abbreviation of lita. Lita means doesn't have limor.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if I'm not sure what that lamed is talking about, I have the Mesorah Gdola. The Mesorah Gdola is an expansion of the Mesorah Ktana. And if you look, you see the number 2 on the side over there, on the side of the margin, next to the Ibn Ezra, under the Ibn Ezra, number 2. That is the Mesorah Gdola. The Mesorah, if I find it will say Lita, and it will say it doesn't have Limor, and it's going to list all the places in the Torah where it says Vadaber Hashem el Moshe, and there's no lemor. It's going to list every single time that it exists. It's going to tell me that 5 times it doesn't have it, and it's going to list all those 5 times. Okay? If you look, for instance,
the one that would represent
It means
two, like she was saying.
no, lita.
Lita.
Lita means in. No, doesn't have. Missing. In Aramaic. It's a word in Aramaic. Okay? If you take a look, for instance,
But once you know those, then you know the representation, how it carries over, or through, carries over.
so that's why it's
for
so important.
understanding.
That's why it's so important to know exactly what it says. Take a look at the beginning of Perek Lamed Gimel. Also it says, okay, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe, and again, it doesn't say lemor, right? And you see, look over the word Hashem. Do you see this little circle over the letter Hey? A tiny little circle. Okay, whenever you have a tiny little circle, that means that there is a comment on the side of the Mesorah Ketana, right? So if you have,
you see that tiny little dot?
okay, so if you have the word, let's say this is the word in the Tanach, okay, and you have a little circle over here, a little circle, that means here, this is the margin, that I'm going to have my comment, my Mesorah Ketana comment, that there is a reference. So if I'm reading the text and I see a little circle, I know that there's a reference on the Mesorah Ketana that's going to say just a letter, or bet, like 2 times, and say bet pamim, 2 times. And I want to know what it means. I'm going to move on to the side, the Mesorah Gdola, which will either be in small letters over here, or in small letters over here, or both here and here, depending on how many comments there are. And I can look over here for the explanation, where it's going to give me the whole list of all the times that have the same principle. All the times in the Tanakh that the word lemor is not going to show up. Or that the word lemor is going to show up without the letter vav, right? Or all the times that, let's find another example. And also it has, and it gives me a sign of how to remember. Like it's going to give me the simanam, let's say, right? That it's an abbreviation of all the different places that it doesn't have. It's going to find me some kind of a siman. Okay? For instance, if you go underneath, we have another example. Okay? So we have, it's a little harder to see. Here's a great example. Take a look at Pasuk Tet, right? We're looking at page 21. The first Pasuk. Okay. So it says here, Negat Sarat, Kitiana Ba'adam, Vuva la Kohen. Okay? How many comments does the Mesorah have in this pasuk? How will you know?
The little circle?
Find the little circles. Okay, so how many little circles do you find?
2.
Right. The first one is on the first letter, nega, and the second one is on the word ba'adam. Now, you see the number 3 over here? That's
That's a fit.
okay. Do you see the 3? That's just showing me where the Mesorah Ketana is. Okay, so it says a Yud Aleph Psukim, Rashehem Nun, Vesofehem Nun. What is the Mesorah telling me? There are 11 psukim in the whole Tanakh that begin and end with the letter Nun.
Ooh.
They counted them. And if I want to know what they are, so here's my Mesorah Gdola, which expands the Mesorah Ketana. And here at number 4, you can find it. Okay? And Negat Sarat, okay, that's the word that we were commenting on. Yud Aleph Psukim, Reshitan Nun, Vesofehem Nun. 11 psukim begin with Nun and end with Nun. Vesimanam, Negat Sarat, Nachnu Na'avor, Naki B'kirbecha. He lists me all of the psukim, all those 11 psukim that begin with a Nun and end with a Nun.
Amazing.
Okay? And he'll do that for any type of, anything like that. Okay? What other examples can I give? If we talk about grammar, and grammar usually try to find the principles that make everybody the same. That's not what they're doing. They're trying to find all the anomalies so we don't lose them. And they list all the places that there is a vav or there isn't a vav, and if it's ktiv maleh, ktiv chaser, and they'll give, and everything is with a list of all the other places. So if you are missing, you're not sure about something, and you can look up in the Mesorah, and you'll see exactly how you're supposed to write it. So that's Mesorah Ketana, Mesorah Gdola, and there's also Mesorah Metzarefet. What's a Mesorah Metzarefet? Is lists. not connected to, because here it's like lots of information, but it's on the place, right? It's just lists. Lists of words that are written the same but have different meaning. Words that are written the same but are pronounced differently. Lists of words that sometimes appear with the aleph and sometimes appear like this. Every single detail is marked. So if you take a look, okay, or here, if you take a look at page 22, this is from Yirmiyahu. You see the Mesorah Ktana on the side. Can you see it over there? Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's something circled. So he writes there. Pasuk. This is on Pasuk. Pasuk Gimel, right? Kafva Psukim It Behon Aleph Bet. There are 21 psukim in the Torah, in the whole Tanach, that include the whole Aleph Bet inside. Wow. This is before computers. These are people that counted all the letters and made sure that no letters got lost, with the whole system of cross-reference. Because if we take a look and we move to the Mesorah Gedolah, we're going to have a list of all those psukim. Wow. So if something is missing, right, we'll know that we're missing something because it doesn't fit in the list. We have a list. Okay? Now, two more things. We're going to get back in a moment to the Mesorah Gedolah, Mesorah Tanan, Mesorah, Mesorah. I just want to show you one more thing. Page 23. We have Kri Uchtiv. Kri Uchtiv is a fascinating thing. Where you read something one way and it's written a different way. So here's an example from Ruth. Ruth is full of Kri Uchtiv, right? And a lot of them in the same type of a context, right? So here's the story of Ruth. And Naomi is sending her to Boaz, sending him in the middle of the night, right, to go in the threshing thing. And this is what she tells her. Pasuk Gimel, Verachatz, you should bathe. Vesacht, and you should anoint yourself. Vesamt, simlotach, simlatech. Your dress is your dress, right? We have two different things. One is written and one is read. Okay, alaych, v'yaradet, v'yaradeti. Wait, yaradet means you go down. V'yaradeti, I will go down. So who's going down? Is it Naomi who's saying v'yaradeti, right? Or is it v'yaradet? And when we look at the text, we see that it says one thing and we read something else. There are two traditions that live side by side, the reading tradition and the writing tradition. That is part of the job of the Masanim, right? To allow both of these traditions to live side by side. Now it's very interesting. So who's going down? Is it Ruth that's going down or Naomi that's going down? And Chazal explained, for instance, over here, they say, Naomi is telling her, when you go down, you can feel like I'm with you. Me and my zchuyot, Yaradet, you're going down, aval yaradeti, I'm with you. Me and my zchuyot and my merits. Like you could say, who am I? I'm just this Moabite girl. Like, I'm going to have this merit that he's going to look at me. He's going to want to, marry me, look after us. Yaradeti. Yaradeti, right? You're going down, I'm going down with you. So there's a meaning for these things. Okay, but that's something else also the Masanim do. Okay, we're finishing off. You can go down to the last page, okay? What you're looking at is the Keter. Keter is a crown. Keter Aram Tzava. Okay? This book was written in 930. 930, right? Okay, this is over 1,000 years old, this book. It was written in Tveria. It was written by a Masan, one of our people, that's what they did. They sat and they counted and they made lists and they made sure that the transmission of the text was accurate based on these lists that had been made for hundreds of years, right? The Masran's name was Aaron ben Asher. He was a 7th generation Masran, right? This was in the family, right? He's from Tveria, we can see, because the Nikud is under the words and not over the words. If you look on the side, you can see the text of the Torah, And you can see the Mesorah Ktana. Do you see the Mesorah Ktana on the side? And you can see the Mesorah Gdola on the bottom of the page, those tiny little letters. And on the top of the page, do you see the Mesorah Gdola? Oh yeah. Okay? The Mesorah Gdola, because it's the details of the Mesorah Ktana. Right? So this book, he is considered the greatest of the Masranim. Mishpachat Ben Asher was considered like they were the like a Stradivarius, right? It's a Stradivarius of the tradition of knowing exactly how things are supposed to be. And 200 years later, when the Rambam saw this book, he said that this is the most accurate transmission of the Torah because it complies completely with the references. So the references of the Mesorah Ktana are all implemented in the text of the Torah, right? There's no deviations. It is the most accurate. It's very interesting. This book ended up in Aram Tzova. Aram Tzova is Haleb in Syria, and the community looked after it like the crown jewels. Keter, a keter is a crown, right? And you weren't allowed to go to it. Not anybody touched it. It was locked in the shul. It was, right? You had to get special permission, and the gabai came and looked. They didn't let anybody photocopy it. If you had questions, people had questions about the Mesorah. How do you pronounce this? What's the right way to write it? Is it with a vav, without a vav? They would send them questions, and then they would return the answers. We have, for instance, a chumash. Who was it? Oh, there's no time. It's already it's lunchtime already. Anyways, in 1946, there were riots. There was a pogrom against the Jews. Let's spell it out. Okay, and the book you can see was damaged. There was a fire, and the book was damaged, and we lost most of the Chumash and a lot of the Ktuvim. We don't have everything, although once in a while a page emerges from somewhere. The Keter is now in Israel, but there's a movie about the Keter. It is because the life of this book, right, reads like a mystery book, right? But this is the most accurate, right? And you can check your text on the Keter. There's another very accurate text, the Ktav Yad Leningrad. Okay, but I didn't bring a picture. That just brought you a picture of this. I'm inviting you to find it. It's in English, I think. To find the movie about the Keter. Maybe I'll try to look for it and send it. But so this is more or less relating to the question. So how do we know that our text is accurate? Because it was a tremendous amount of effort put in to making sure that it would stay accurate. Not relying on just I'm copying and double checking, but lists, mamash, lists throughout generations of what it's supposed to look like and where it's supposed to be like this and where it's supposed to be like that, and everything is cross-referenced to the extent even that somebody was able to reconstruct texts of before we only got the Keter a few years ago, like 20 years ago, something like that. And in the interim, somebody was able to reconstruct the text of the Keter using the Mesorah. So that's how we know that how accurate it is. Tov, this was
amazing.
Off topic.
So there's not currently Mesorah.
You can go to the Israel Museum. In the Israel Museum, they've got Hichal Sefer, and you've got. I think that it's showing. You can see the Keter. You can see the Keter today. It's made its way. It was smuggled in a washing machine. My goodness, yes, I told you it's a movie. It is literally a movie. No, the answer is yes. There are Masranim. There are people, not Masranim like then, right? But there are people that they do this. Like today, there's someone who lives here in Gush Etzion, Yossi Ofer. He doesn't come Mitzur, he's a Masran. He's the Ish of Mesorah, right? He knows all these things. There are people that do. We have books continue to be written. If you look, and I think you've got it like Minchat Shai, probably. Minchat Shai is a book of Masranim. Torah Or is a book of Masranim. There are it's like a niche thing, right? Like most of us know math to go to shopping and to calculate how much fabric we need to buy for the tablecloth, right? But we don't know the math you need in order to calculate the radius of something, I don't know what. That's a niche thing for mathematicians. This also is a little bit like a niche thing, exactly where all the things, but it's a fascinating niche. Mamash, and we didn't even go into all the fascinating things that are over here.
Beautiful. I love it.
Okay, so Shabbat Shalom. And how much longer are you here for?
3 months.
Ah, you're here for 3 months. Very nice.
Yeah, 2.5.
So are you going to be here in Bet Ayin?